Redditors, what made you go thank God I broke up with him her after you met your ex again after some time? The last time I saw her, she was so fricked up she didn't even recognize me. I almost didn't recognize her either, TBH. I only realized it was her when her equally fricked up friend called her by the incredibly annoying nickname that she went by. Not sure what drug she was taking, but she recently moved across the country for rehab. I always knew my ex wanted a baby, but the thing is, after we broke up, she began dating another guy like 3 days after, and after that guy, she began to date another guy shortly after, and after less than 1 year of relationship, got pregnant. Shortly after she delivered, they broke up. Now she is a single mother looking avidly for a relationship. I learned that she is a relationship addict. She told me she was paying off credit card debt. IDK how much? But it turns out she was racking up credit card debt while we were together. It's not the debt that bothers me as much as not telling someone you're engaged to that you have credit card debt. That kind of secret keeping is bad news. Reminds me of him. She wouldn't admit she was gay. To be clear, I'm a dude. We spent 4 years together, and it was pretty clear from the get-go that if she wasn't bi, she was almost certainly gay. She's married to a woman now, and very, very happy. As it turns out, I'm also married to a woman, and very, very happy, too. Not so much the thank God we're not together thing, but thank God we both found what we needed. She's married to a woman now, and very, very happy. As it turns out, I'm also married to a woman, and very, very happy, too. It seems you two have a lot in common. I can see why you dated. She told me that she had a new partner and then told me that she was just joking and she wanted to see what my reaction would be. Then she said, how could you let him steal your girl like that? All of this was within a minute. I'm glad I got away from that emotional manipulation. My ex did the same thing but wasn't joking. Like 2 weeks into her new relationship she texted me, I can't believe you aren't fighting for us. I didn't bother responding to that or any further texts. She asked me for advice on how to handle the fact she cheated on her new boyfriend by having a threesome with 2 of her Home Depot co-workers. This is a positive, thank God I broke up with him. He finally found the courage to uproot himself and move to another country to start anew. I was the only ties he had with his homeland. He has no family and all of his closest friends are mostly digital nomads. This one is nice. He married my friend less than a year after we broke up. At the age of 23, she's now a mother of 3, deep in legal debt from him being charged with a felony. I don't know the details of the felony, but from what I know about his character, it probably had to do with either violence or sex, or both. I don't know the end result of the trial. All I know is I'm so glad I'm not her. I had this happen. He straight up married my best friend. They're divorced now, so, you know, karma. Ran into him at a LARP game I got dragged to by a friend. He was in the process of divorcing. He complained that his wife hadn't been giving him enough sex, but he had refused to talk to her about any issues in their relationship. Then he tells me he's got a 3-year-old son with a side chick he'd been with whenever his wife was away, and had been hiding his child support payments from his wife. She only found out BC she talked to their accountant, who had zero idea that she didn't know about the kid. Then he asks me out, knowing fully well I was happily married. Dodged a heck of a bullet there. That's some freaking intense lack of self-awareness. Jesus. We dated for under a year and during that span he started doing He eventually got clean and started begging me to take him back. He'd then get a new girlfriend, try to use her to make me jealous, then dump her and beg for me to take him back. He eventually gets married to make me jealous, moves, gets divorced and asks me to talk him back. When him begging me didn't work, he'd turn to my friends and beg them to beg me to take him back. I had to explain to multiple friends, some close and some not, that he was an ex and why we broke up. He eventually ran out of friends to annoy and finally gave up. I didn't date during this 5-year period because I didn't want to explain to whatever new partner I got that I had a crazy ex that was going to attempt to inject himself into their life. We had a crappy relationship, but I did love her and I think she loved me. A few years after we finally broke up, I found out she's in a great relationship and doing fine. Thank God we didn't waste each other's time a second longer. Sometimes you gotta let go. I wouldn't get back with her for anything, but I care about her and happy she's happy. Ran into an ex in line at a Starbucks that I had broke up with for being ridiculously controlling. She immediately started telling me what I should order for myself and was angry when I didn't order what she told me to. He's 36, still living with his mum, still chain smoking weed constantly and still thinks he's going to be a famous rock star one day. He hasn't moved on from his teens at all. Whoa, I'm sad. When we reconnected as friends and he wouldn't shut up about being an alpha male. Cause of that, we aren't friends anymore. If you have to insist you're an alpha male, you 100% are not. Literally got pregnant within a month of me taking a long-term separation. That is, a couple months, from the relationship with a coworker. I had to interact with her a handful of times for legal reasons with divorce and verifying the baby wasn't mine. They're both self-harmers, and she's still living in that do-nothing town, so I can't imagine things aren't super great for the kid. When I heard that he hit his current wife while he was drunk, he was never violent with me, but I partly broke up with him because of verbal abuse. When he was drunk, he'd get belligerent and argumentative not just with me, but others too. He also would get up in my face, pointing his finger at me. I'm so glad I never got married like he wanted to. At the time, I just felt like I wasn't ready to be married, but maybe I sensed something else deep down. Happy cake day, you likely were right and was sensing something was up. Dated a girl in HS. She kissed me and said you're mine now. Red flag. I broke up with her some time later. Meet up 15 years later. Find out she's a scam artist. Racked up huge debt. Ruined her husband's credit as well as her own. Gets him arrested. Moves on and plays the victim. I didn't just dodge a bullet. I dodge a whole army. Silver lining. She introduced me to my wife maybe a year after we broke up. Happily ever after. He got a giant satanic tattoo on his back. Note, not a real Satanist. He's a worship the Dark Lord and practice black magic sort of Satanist. Honestly not going to be shocked when he turns out to be a serial killer. I love that worshipping the Dark Lord and practicing black magic actually discounts you from being a real Satanist. Our relationship just kinda fizzled after 5 years together. We were still pretty good friends, but stopped doing things together after a while, even though we lived together. There was zero romance anymore, sex was history, etc. So we agreed it was best to part, and we did so on a positive note. Moved on and just lost touch. 3 or 4 years later I meet up with her at a festival. She'd gained at least 200 pounds, chopped up her hair in some funky butt style. She's with this guy she'd been with for a couple years, total drunk. They make their own moonshine, live in a trailer in Redneckland. She works at a chicken joint. He's on disability. It's all so sad. It doesn't make me say thank God we broke up, more the opposite. I mean, when we were together, she was super ambitious, really intelligent and driven. I don't think things would have gone the way they did for her if we stuck it out. Dunno if our breakup was the cause of her decline, or it was just something buried within her. We haven't stayed in touch either. It's just too sad for me. He became a professional astrologer. There were no warning signs beforehand. I don't understand it, but I definitely read the crap out of his weird butt Facebook posts. And no, I have no idea how he affords food or rent. If anyone can weigh in here, I'd love to know the official warning signs that point to a person eventually becoming a professional astrologer. He stalked me for a bit, moped around campus, told everyone he was in love with me and willing to wait until I came around. Kept trying to emotionally manipulate me, but you need emotions to have them manipulated, so he just looked real stupid. He started dating another girl who was a complete opposite of me, maybe to make me jealous IDK, but he dated her for 2 years. Saw him at a wedding right after they broke up. He got s-faced and bad-mouthed her the entire time. She was also a guest. He was a roller coaster for all the wrong reasons. But you need emotions to have them manipulated, so dated a girl for a little over 2 years. I thought she was insanely cute and seemed fun. She was head over heels for me from the start, which made me happy to hear since I've never felt attractive and that helped my ego a little. I was drunk when I asked her to be my girlfriend. We were both drinking a lot at the start since I had just turned 21. Within a few weeks I questioned whether or not I wanted the relationship, but stuck through it. Things got worse. Much worse. She would literally cry if we were watching TV and a girl in a bikini popped up. She had major self-esteem issues and anxiety and depression. Never self-harmed but said she had those issues, which I believed. Always accused me of looking at girls in TV shows and movies and wanting them over her, which was never true. She was extremely controlling and made me stop smoking weed cigarettes because she hated it. And because I had no willpower I let her control me. She always thought I was cheating on her or was trying to, which I never did, even though I had reasonable proof that she had actually cheated on me at a bar not too long after we started dating. She denied it the entire relationship. Finally, after we broke up, she admitted it. She only kissed a guy, which wasn't that big of a deal, but it was the lying that made me happy that we were over. A few months later, the guy she started dating after me, who didn't like me at all, started messaging me asking about our relationship and if she had ever cheated on me. I told him the truth, which was that she kissed another guy while we were dating and also used to flirt with guys at the bar when I wasn't with her. He had asked because apparently she cheated on him multiple times. This guy then proceeded to tell me that him and her were going to get another guy involved with them threesome, but that she wanted to be tied up and blindfolded. He suggested that I come and be involved in their threesome without telling her that it was me. She didn't have any contact with me and hated me after our relationship ended. I very politely told him how fricked up that was and that I was not looking to basically rape my ex-girlfriend because I learned at a young age that if a girl isn't interested or doesn't like you, that's a stern no. Very happy that ended. Don't know where she is now. However, I'm now happily married to an amazing woman and stepfather to a beautiful 3-year-old. We also have one of our own on the way and due in January. He suggested that I come and be involved in their threesome without telling her that it was me. Bro, I was so worried when this sentence came up. Thank you for not being a terrible person. A few days after breaking up with my fiancée, I was packing up her stuff to move out of the apartment. I stumbled upon her old college diary. I shouldn't have read it, but I definitely did. In it, she described in detail the second date that she had with another ex-fiancé. It was as if I was reading a current diary. Every detail of this date that she had years ago was the exact same as what happened on our second date. With me, she had recreated everything. The pillow fort, the national record playing, the exact bottle of wine, and the stomachache. She recreated a stomachache. Who does that? I guess she felt like she found a good second date formula and she stuck with it. Freaking weird. We were together for most of our teen years until 22. A couple of years after our breakup, his dad was unwell and moving to an assisted facility. There was a bunch of people going to help his dad pack and move, and I decided to help as I kept in contact with his dad and wanted to help him out. My ex sat on the front porch chain smoking and making sure people didn't take what he had marked as his. The rest of the people, myself included, were cleaning up years and years of mess as the dad had been so unwell he stopped cleaning the house. Dating Sherry, the coke dealing biker chick, who looked like a Victoria's Secret underwear model. The best thing that ever happened to me is I was out of town the day the police broke down the door to bust her coke dealing operation. Last I heard, she was still in prison. She became a horse girl. This was my first real relationship in high school. She moved, broke up by ghosting, and never spoke to me again. Anyway, years pass. I go to college and totally forgot about her until she added me on Facebook. She's married. We were only 22 at this point, so that was a little odd. And she mainly posted pictures of horses. At first it was oh cool, she's into horses, but it slowly transitioned to oh, she really likes horses, and then to up, she really likes horses. If it's not a picture of her riding her horse, it's her hugging her horses, petting, staring in their eyes. It's freaking weird. Anyway, that's when it hit me that she was always a little odd. Not gonna lie, when you said horse girl I imagined levels of my horse prince horse girl, like horse with a human head. Dated a girl in my early 20s who I thought was the one. She cheated multiple times and lied about things constantly, gaslit me, etc. I tried to fix it because I truly loved her, but then realized I couldn't trust her anymore after what she did. Met up with her for coffee about 6 years later. She was still going to another college for another music degree, dating this other guy for years, gained weight, making some progress with her music aspirations but worked at a sex shop. Seeing her again made me real uncomfortable because of how I felt about her and what happened between us. Looking back, I know I wasn't perfect either. In all that time she never apologized for what she did to me, and it got under my skin. Told her I wasn't talking to her anymore. Last I heard she was trying to make it as a composer in the film industry. We bumped into each other in a supermarket and agreed to have coffee and lunch. She changed our seats twice, asked for my jacket because she was too cold, ordered combination things off the menu and had specific requests on how they were to be cooked. I'd all but forgotten that she was such a fussy bee. I could not imagine myself living with that again on a daily basis. He made it clear he just used me, money, place to live, make his ex-wife jealous, you name it, that's the only reason he was with me. Then I got knocked up and he felt guilty spending my savings, having a kid with me, then moving across country. I've gotten him to admit it himself, but to everyone else I'm the bee who doesn't let him see or talk to his kid, who he doesn't call and doesn't ever try to visit. The fact I actually am making strides to do well for myself, and the fact he resigned himself to working minimum wage employment, mooching off people and smoking copious amounts of weed. Well, we hadn't dated very long before she decided having sex with my best friend was her better option. She thought he was going to marry her. The guarantee to have sex with a Catholic girl is to tell them they'll marry anyway, apparently. Then he dumped her. She was a mess until she met a construction worker at a bar, and they eventually married. After 3 kids, she went through a major makeover phase, lost weight, started drinking wine instead of beer, and began associating with higher class society. She divorced her husband, a nice guy, just a simple hard-working dude, but kept the house he built for her, and married a very wealthy man who now keeps her happily in her new status. I found out that she tricked some other dude into staying with her by coming off her birth control and having a child against his wishes. On top of that, the child was born with cerebral palsy and will need lifelong treatment. Dang son. He was blasted all over Facebook by an anti-predator group for texting a decoy who pretended to be 15. He was all set to meet the decoy and said disgusting sexual things knowing she said she was 15. He was 28 at the time. He apparently backed out last second. The group posted a video of all of the texts he sent and the pictures, but blurred out nudity. I'm honestly embarrassed to have dated him at this point. It was definitely my first boyfriend when I was 15-17. Not sure which child earned first, but he never went to the bathroom to pee as a rule. He was that weirdo who peed in bottles, which I'd never heard of at the time but have since heard this is a thing. I'm not talking about little 750 ml 1 liter bottles either. I'm talking multiple 2 liters bottles which he would keep under his bed and throw out every 2 weeks. Just throw them out. He didn't even wash the bottles out afterwards. Same guy also got expelled from school when he was 15. He told me he left to work in the family business and idiot 15-year-old here bought it. He got a hold of one of his teacher's email addresses and password and used it to send nudes to a student teacher. Face wasn't included, but the teacher realized it was child pee, reported it to the police who investigated it, and figured out who it was fairly quickly as one of his school books was in the photo and they could partially make out his name written on it. That part mightn't be true as I haven't seen the photos personally for obvious reasons, but that's what I heard anyway. Not me but my wife. She was engaged to some guy. After some time it fell through as she was finishing her masters. Now 15 or so years later, she had friends visit from across the country. They offhandedly explained the ex is in prison. Life, for murdering someone in a Walmart parking lot. It was kind of weird too. I was cleaning out our attic just a week or 2 after the news and found a bunch of photos of her backpacking with him. It was very surreal to have photographs of an actual murderer in my attic. We only went out for about 5 months. When we were dating, he had a cold at one point. I had offered to bring him soup, cold meds, etc. He said he was okay. About a year later we were catching up, and he told me he had flown his mother in to help him get better. She lived halfway across the country. He was 30 at the time. I dated this single mom for a few months, and within a few dates she joked about me marrying her. We broke up and I saw on her FB that she got married mere weeks after we broke up. Come to find out that they got divorced less than a year after that, and she was remarried to another guy. I think they're still together, but it was a big wake up call and bullet dodged. She just wanted to be married again really bad. Nothing terrible, but the ex got in contact to update me on their life. No idea why. We had been zero contact since breakup. They got exactly what they wanted out of life: the spouse, the kids, the house, it's a TV perfect, cookie cutter life. But all I could think was, dang, I am glad your life isn't my life anymore. Didn't meet him after some time, but read an obituary. We dated in high school. He took a trip to his home country, Islamic country, for the summer and came back so different. He was a very nice and very good looking man, but came back angry at the world and obsessive. I broke up with him and he would harass me afterwards for some time by sending me hateful messages over Facebook. I read his obituary a few years ago. He got into a heated argument and got stabbed. It's too bad, because when we initially dated he was such a good kid, innocent, smart, and just got overtaken by hate. I had an aunt that married a guy from Islamic country. Her husband took their daughter in the middle of the night and fled to Islamic country. It's been over 15 years and she's never been able to contact or find her again. Horrible situation that nearly completely broke her as a person. He became a total douche, belittling me every chance he got. Sure, he's successful, but won't do him any good when he's a total butthole. Money won't make someone like me happy. Good riddance to bad rubbish. You say that, but I could spend a week straight writing a list of crap I do with infinite money. We broke up a decade ago because they wouldn't work and expected me to support them. I was 19. They were 21. They moved out of my apartment and back in with their parents. They still live with their parents and to my knowledge do not work. Hello me, I didn't realize I had an alternate account. My first serious boyfriend dumped me because he wanted to focus on his acting career. I later discovered he had not only had another girlfriend and gotten her pregnant, but he had attempted to sleep with my so-called friends at the time. His career ended thanks to drugs and he now works as a window cleaner. We never really broke up, just drifted apart. I met her 2 years later and she was married and had a 1-year-old and another kid on the way. There was no way I would have been ready for that at 22. I'm glad for her but thankful for myself too. When I looked my first ex up online, I found his parents' divorce document and I saw he had been diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia. Then everything made sense now in our relationship and he didn't show the typical signs of it then. Voices, paranoia about people going after him or the governor, talking to himself. So it was good I did break up with him. Now his mom had to take care of him and she couldn't maintain a steady job because she has to take care of his daily needs despite him living on his own. For once I did finally forgive him and then understood his apology. He left me after the breakup. I wanted to make amends but couldn't because I can't locate his Facebook page and he uses a different name, I know. Well, she broke up with me. Before we got together I told her I was bi. Didn't faze her. She seemed to be alright with the LGBTQ community. She often said I was better than her alcoholic ex. Later down the road we had an argument because she thought our gay friends were turning me gay. And she also said bisexuals were people that can't make up their mind and want to sleep with everyone. I reminded her I was bi. Apparently that was news to her and she didn't remember I told her before we got together. Apparently it was a problem because I could cheat on her and she couldn't tell her parents that she was with someone who was bi because they didn't agree with the LGBTQ community. Turns out she went back to her alcoholic ex. Apparently that was easier to explain to her parents. She was awful to me, completely toxic. She was a spoiled child, which was only partially her fault looking at you Dr. Daddy, but that bled into every facet of who she was. She dumped me, much to my dismay at the time, and we reconnected several years later, nearly 5, I think. For a short time, she would call me at night after her husband had fallen into another drunken stupor and she would smoke a cigarette. and complained to me about how miserable she was, how little she was making as a psychologist, like I told her she would, and how awful her marriage was. Struggled not to laugh when she told me he frequently wet the bed when drunk. I realized that she'd always be miserable and would find people who made her even more miserable, to give her reasons to complain. Thank God I got out of there. Not saying my life, my marriage, my wife is perfect, but it could have been so much worse. Obligatory haha. You fell in the creek, rescued your own butt, and had firefighters steal your thunder crack. Tagged you for that one. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.